You're listening to the Hustled Up Podcast. We're Holly and Laura, besties since birth, cleaning business owners, multi-passionate doers, and founders of the Hustle Haven, a modern business education and networking collective built for fellow entrepreneurs who crave growth, support, and real connection. Now, we're your go-to girlies for the real side of entrepreneurship. We're covering wins, fails, and the messy middle. So come on in and let's talk branding, booking, burnout, and everything in between. If you're in serious need of tips, tea, total transformation, and that let's freaking go energy, you're in the right place. Grab your earbuds, turn up the volume, and let's hustle up.
Hello, hello, friends, listeners, loved ones. Welcome back to the Hustled Up Podcast. We are your hosts, and my name is Laura.
And I'm Holly.
And we have an extra special episode for you guys today because we are joined by Jen Rodgers, which that name might sound familiar to you, and it should, because we have had her as a guest on the podcast before, but it was a while ago. So we had her back today. And if you don't know who Jen Rodgers is, you should. She is the owner of Just Peachy Clean in Florida. She also is the owner of Profit Pathways, which is a coaching and training program that Holly and I are actually a part of. We actually have a call with her. I'm looking at my fake watch. In about 5 minutes.
13 minutes.
13 minutes.
So we're good.
It's quarter past a freckle at the moment. Yeah. But we just wrapped up with her. And honestly, this conversation was amazing. We're sort of piggybacking off of last week. I know we talked a lot about compliance. So this episode was compliance, but more geared towards employees, which honestly, everyone needs to listen to this episode. You may be thinking, ugh, compliance boring. But first of all, it's never boring with us. And you should know that by now.
It's never.
No. And it's never boring with Jen either. So we talk a lot about compliance. We talk about some important paperwork. We talk about what's in your employee handbook, or at least should be. And then we wrapped it up with kind of just a free, open conversation about the industry in general and how you should be charging what you're worth and all that good stuff. It was really, really an incredible conversation. And Jen also, little spoiler alert, has a little freebie that she's going to talk about. So yeah, she very generously put together a freebie for our listeners. So be sure to stay till the end so that you can get access to all of that information. And I'm just so excited for you guys to hear what Jen has to say. So we'll be right back.
Hey, business owners, are you looking for a better way to communicate with your employees? Whether you've just grown tired of your boring, unresponsive email threads, or you're sick of paying tons of money for something like Slack or Connect Team, Discord is your answer, and I'm going to teach you all about it. In the Hustle Haven's brand new course, Discord 101, I am going to walk you through step by step on how to create a Discord server for your business. This detailed course features over 90 minutes of video content, as well as a bunch of PDF downloads to get your server ready to absolutely slay your employee communications. Get ready to level up your company culture with this free platform. Don't wait any longer. Discord 101 is the course for you.
Okay, so we are back with Jen Rodgers. And for our long-term listeners, you already know who Jen is. But if anyone is tuning in and doesn't already know who you are, can you just introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Jen Rodgers, and I own Just Peachy Clean in Daytona Beach, Florida. We've actually just celebrated our 12-year anniversary. So I've been in business for 12 years, very excited about that. But the last 2 years or so, I started a company called Profit Pathways, which is where we do like coaching and training for the cleaning industry, because I feel like there's a big gap in training outside of just like that super basic training of here, watch this video and then go clean, and we expect you to do it right. So I've been working on the training for the office side and for the technician side.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we are a part of Profit Pathway.
Yes, I love that.
We
Good
love
friends of
Profit
Jen,
Pathways.
yes. Literally. Honestly, the coaching calls that we get with Jen are worth the money itself. Like,
Yeah.
I look forward to them. They're so helpful. And what I'll say about you, Jen, is you always cater things to us and what we need. And even though you have set itinerary that you can talk about, you're always like, well, what do you guys need? And that is why I think it's so helpful and why it's worth its weight in gold alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what it's all about. It doesn't do you guys any good if I'm sitting here just talking about something and filling my own agenda, and it doesn't even apply to you guys. So if there is a more, we have, I don't know if you've talked to them about it before, but it's a group coaching call. So we've got 5 other business owners on there, and if it doesn't cater to you guys, then what is the point of doing it? If I'm sitting here preaching to you guys about, I don't know, scrubbing toilets, and you guys are like, we've already mastered this, we don't need to talk about scrubbing toilets, then why am I doing it? You're just sitting there being bored to death. So especially if there's something emergent, like if we get on a coaching call and we start talking about our wins and our woes, and somebody's like, oh my gosh, I just had somebody no call, no show today, I don't even have any idea how to handle this. Or, oh my gosh, I just had somebody who, stabbed their hand on a needle in a trash bag today, how do I handle that? Then let's talk about that. Ask me how I know. Personal experience.
I was going to say,
fear unlocked. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Do not push down the trash. Don't push down. Pull it out. Throw it away. Don't try to compact it. We literally had a technician, and she wasn't even like compacting it. She took it out and was like kind of squished it to tie it better. And the homeowner had thrown away sharps. They had diabetic needle, and she poked her finger with it. And fast forward to a workers' comp claim later, and she had to get an antiretroviral treatment and all this other stuff because we had to make sure she was okay, because that's our top priority. But yeah, like things like that, if that comes up, then that's what we need to talk about. How do we handle that? What does that look like? Who do we call? What's the protocol? I don't want to talk about something that means nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was very helpful for us because we went through like something a little catastrophic recently. And, we used our call 2 weeks ago to kind of talk about it. And so that's why we actually wanted to bring you on the podcast today, because we had something catastrophic happen with an employee. And it just made us realize that we need to make sure all of our, like what's the saying? Ducks are in a row? Ducks are, I was going to say eggs are in a row. But the eggs go in the basket, ducks go in the row. Okay, got it. But we just needed to make sure, like, because hiring is a big deal. It's kind of scary. And even these stories that you're telling now, like, the needle thing or like, woo. And so not only are you trying to protect your employees, because that's a whole other like literal living human being that you have to make sure is safe all the time, but also you need to protect your company and yourself at the same time. So you have to like do double the amount of work just to make sure that like everything is good. So we hopped on a call with Jen 2 weeks ago, and she told us a lot about, which we tickled a lot of this in last week's episode when we were talking about compliance and regulations. But today is going to be a little more employee focused, because Jen mentioned a lot of she dropped so many really good golden nuggets about what you need to make sure you have in place when you hire, and not even just compliance wise, but in terms of just setting expectations as well. So just all the things you need to be doing in order to succeed with your employees and protect your business. And so we had reached out to her. I was like, I have to have her talk about this on the show. I must, because this is so good. And I feel like the majority of our listeners are people who either have maybe like 1 or 2 employees and they're in growth mode, you know what I mean? Or they're solo cleaners now, but they want to grow and hire. So I think this is really good to talk about, because it's something people should know right off the get-go. And I wish that I would have known some of this years ago, and some of it I had to learn through the years, and then some of it hit us the hard way just recently, because we just didn't have the proper things in place. And so I'm hoping that your lesson today will just help people like really never have this happen, or anything just catastrophic happen with an employee. So I'm really, really excited to dive into today's topic with you.
Oh, well, great. I'm excited to be here. And one of the reasons that I started Profit Pathways is because all of us go into this business because we're good at something, right? We're good at cleaning, or, maybe you're a window washing company, or maybe you're an HVAC company. Like, you've learned a trade, you're really great at it, and you start this business, and you don't think about what all the business entails. And when it's just you, it's not a big deal. But then all of a sudden you're good at it, so you get more clients, and then you can't service everybody, and then you need to hire. You have to make that decision. Am I going to scale and grow big, or am I going to keep it just myself? Both of which are fine. You don't have to ever become a big company if that's not your goal. But if it is your goal, you've never done this before, so you don't even know the things that you don't know. And so it's my goal is to like really try to show people what they don't know, because even other coaching programs that are out there, they will just hand you stuff and go, here you go, use it. Here's all my stuff. But then in hindsight, when something like this happens and you have an issue and you go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that wasn't in there. Oh, well, I told you that you should have it looked over by an attorney, but that's like in the fine print and you never really think about it, because if it's good enough for this great big company, why wouldn't it be good enough for my company? So my goal is to kind of point out the things you need, but then still have you reach out to the people who know what they're doing to write it correctly and to include the things correctly, because every state is different. New York is vastly different than Florida. Florida is very employer friendly. New York, not so much. California, not so much. So if you're in a state that's not really employer friendly, you definitely have to make sure you have somebody who look over it differently. Michigan, like their new time off policy is like super crazy in depth, and what you can do and can't do and what you're allowed to count as paid time off and not. It's too much for you to try to take on your own. You need to have somebody who is trained in that and can write it so that it protects your company. But the big thing that out of all of this is the cost of a bad hire isn't the wages that you paid for him. It's the client that they take with them when they leave. And I speak from experience because we had a technician that left, and when she left, took $35,000 worth of annual revenue out the door with her. And one of the things I realized upon that was, yes, I had a non-solicit with her, but it was not a very strong non-solicit. So of the $35,000 in revenue that she took with her when she left, I was only able to go after about $12,000 of that, which is still significant, but not what it could have been. And so that was one of the things that I learned, is that when you're writing a non-solicit, that you need to recoup damages, not just a dollar amount per client that leaves, because not all clients are created equal. We have some clients that are, $3,000 a year, but then we have one client that she took with her was a $15,000 a year client. So big difference.
I get it. I sympathize.
Preaching to the choir right
Woo!
now.
Is it too soon? No, I'm kidding.
Right? We share wounds, not scars, not wounds. Remember?
These are wounds. They're fresh. They're bleeding, but no.
Yeah.
But so all of this to say, I would love you to just kind of open up to, because we do have a lot of listeners who are just starting out and maybe they haven't even thought about compliance. Maybe they haven't even realized how big of an undertaking it is to bring on a new hire. So what would you say, just generally, is the biggest mistake you're seeing when it comes to employee compliance for small businesses that are just starting out?
Hiring subcontractors.
Okay. Can you go into depth, because not everybody might not know the difference between a W-2 employee versus a subcontractor and why it's better to hire W-2s?
Yeah. So with a subcontractor, you have no control over the person that you're hiring. You can't you can't train them how to clean. You can't provide them supplies. They can't wear your uniform. You can't make them go back and re-clean if they did a bad job. Like, you can't even, if you have it anywhere where it's on a schedule that they have to be at this house at 9:00, you're already crossing that boundary of subcontractor and employee. The IRS looks at it. If you dictate what they're doing and dictate their schedule, then they are an employee, and all you're doing is trying to avoid payroll taxes. The other thing is that a lot of people don't realize is that the subcontractor has to invoice you. They have to dictate their pricing because they are their own business. They need to be registered with the state. They need to have their own general liability insurance. If they have other people that work for them, they have to have their own workers' comp insurance. And if something happens on that client's property, it's not, if I hire subcontractors and I have a subcontractor that goes in and breaks something, that's not going back on my insurance. And if the person I just sent in your house doesn't have insurance, it's falling back on the homeowner's insurance. So if somebody comes in and ruins your granite countertop, and that person was a subcontractor who happened to let their insurance lapse, that homeowner is going to have to pay for that with their homeowner's insurance or out of pocket to replace that granite countertop. So
at the end of the day, that makes the business look very, very bad.
it does. And, you see it all the time, people on Facebook. And I think Nicole just shared a post the other day that they're going on and saying, hey, I need help cleaning tomorrow, $60 for the job. Come and help me out. It's a subcontractor position. They're bringing a random stranger off of the internet into your house to do work.
It's wild. It's wild behavior.
But people do it all the time. It's so common.
We actually have a friend who uses or used, I don't know what they're doing now, but used subcontractors and had a couple of 1099s on his team. And his insurance caught wind that he provides them supplies and they wear uniforms and they're treated the exact same way as the W-2s during, I guess, a routine audit and he got hit with like what, a $12,000 bill or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was like
Because
20 grand or
they,
something.
it was high. It was
high.
ridiculously high because they said, no, you may be classifying them as subcontractors, but they need to be covered under work comp because they are doing what W-2 employees would do. So
Yep,
he got
you are
hit with a
treating them like an
huge bill.
employee.
Yeah.
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 Well, and so here's what's worse is if you get audited by the IRS because they go after the back taxes.
Oh, and then are you responsible for that
Yes.
or is the employee?
Nope.
You are.
You are responsible.
Yeah, you can't cheat the government. That's the thing. People like to be sneaky and think that they can cheat the government. And I've talked about this before, but I worked for a previous cleaning company and I got into a bad accident and she didn't have workers' comp and she got fined up the butt. And she thought that she was being sneaky and saving money in the long run, but she wasn't because she had to pay out a ton for not doing things the right way. And that's why me and Holly are so anal. I'll never forget, we had a friend who hired us once and we charged them sales tax and they got mad at us. And I was like, listen, we do not operate under the table. We just, doesn't matter who you are. We claim our income. And they're like, I can't believe you charged me sales tax. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember. You'll have to tell me later.
Yes. No, I'm the same way. I'm such a rule follower. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to come anywhere near the IRS's radar. Like, I don't even want to say IRS because I'm afraid they're listening somewhere or something. Like, don't come look at me. I'm doing everything just fine.
I know we should just bleep it out of this episode every time you say it. We'll just be like, beep.
But people don't realize that there is a proper way to do a 1099 subcontractor, but it is so hard to do it correctly that chances are if you are doing it, you're messing up something because the IRS says it's all or nothing. So even if you're breaking one of those however many rules they have, the IRS says, nope, that's an employee. So guess what? You owe me back taxes for that. So I'm going to come after you for that. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to pay back taxes. Like, let me just pay it now. That's no fun. And honestly, when you start doing payroll, if you are pricing correctly, it's not going to affect your bottom line. Like, you build that into your price. And so the thing about the difference between the subcontractor that we just talked about and the W-2 employee is that W-2 employee you have control over. You can set attendance policies. You can write them up. You can train them. You can require them to wear a uniform. You can make them go back and fix a house if they messed it up. You can require all of these things. You have much more control over them as an employee of your company than you do with a subcontractor that comes in. I mean, I've heard horror stories of subcontractors coming in and showing up and doing the bare minimum and then leaving, and then the client is furious. So then what happens? I have to go back and clean it because I can't make them go back and clean it legally. I mean, there are people out there who would make them go back and clean it, but legally you're not even allowed to do that. But most of us, so when I got started in the cleaning industry, the person that hired me as a subcontractor. So that's all I knew. And so I thought it was right. I didn't know any different until I learned that it was not the way to go. So
yeah, it's
you
very
cut it off.
Yeah, because I knew some of that, but even I didn't know all of that. I didn't know it was that strict.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, speaking of hiring a W-2 employee, can you speak to, because this is something that you brought up on the coaching call that I thought was really informative. Can you just go over what are the basic paperwork that every single employer needs to have the employee fill out and what that onboarding should look like? Because I know you mentioned everything has to be done on day one. And that was a big eye opener for us where I was like, this is great information to know.
Yeah. So the more and more that I have researched it, everything says that like they need to agree to everything before they show up to day one on the job. So like for us, that means all the onboarding paperwork gets emailed out through our payroll company for them to sign before they come in. So that's their I-9, which is required by the IRS. That's a non-negotiable. Their W-4 for the W-2 status, that's a non-negotiable. In Florida, we have the Florida new hire sheet that they have to fill out. I'm sure you guys have something similar in New York that you have to fill out. But for us, it's the Florida new hire sheet. Those are non-negotiables, period. You have to do those. If you're not collecting those and you ever get audited, you're going to be in big trouble, especially that I-9. That I-9 is saying that they are legal to work in the United States. So you have to have those documents and they need to be, we do a paper version and the online version. So once they fill it out online, we keep a paper copy at the office. So if we ever get audited, we pull out the file of our current I-9s and our terminated I-9s because we don't know what they're coming after. So we have two files that just have I-9s in them that we would hand over if we got audited. But on top of that, you need them to sign your employee handbook, which has your attendance policy in it so that they know what they're signing up for, your PTO policy, your non-solicit, that you should have, not a non-compete. Non-competes are pretty much unenforceable unless you're like management level. But a non-solicit, you can absolutely have them sign something that says they're not going to steal your clients. And then you need to have, if you take pictures, a photo release, if they are going to be creating anything for you, whether that's creating content for your social media page or whatever, they need to sign something that says basically that anything I create for Chores and More while I work here is Chores and More's property. It's not my property. I don't get to take it with me. So that way any of their creative also stays with you. So those are like some definite must-haves when you go to bring on somebody, but having all of that signed before they start on day one, because after the fact, it's still enforceable, but it's a little less enforceable because they could come in and say, well, I just signed all the paperwork because they made me. I didn't have any idea, really what I was signing. I didn't know about it beforehand, as opposed to, 2 days before they start, they've been emailed this. They have time to look it over. They have time to go through it, ask questions, whatever. Then it's a little bit more enforceable.
Yeah, for sure. The photo release is something I didn't think about. That's a good one.
I'm still learning.
The content release, we have them sign the content release, but the photo release where they're in the photos is a good one.
Yeah, and that so something really on topic, but kind of pivoting, we made the mistake of, we have door hangers, and we made the mistake of putting our employees on the door hangers, one of which is somebody who we recently had a huge issue with. And now I'm like, these door hangers are garbage. Had we signed a photo release or had her sign a photo release, we could technically still use them. Not that I would want to.
Honestly, I want to go hang those door hangers on
certain doors.
But regardless, it's a good thing to think about. Yeah. It's very, very good. But speaking of the handbook, right? Because this is a big one. And I feel like a lot of people think the handbook is just there because it has to be, kind of thing. And I think that a lot of people, like, I mean, with AI, they probably have a lot more help than like we had, for example, when we made ours. But what are some things? Now, obviously, I know like we are not professional, like HR companies.
Not legal advice.
It's not legal advice.
Educational like purposes only.
Indeed. But what are some things that maybe, and especially for the cleaning industry, things that should go in the handbook that maybe companies aren't thinking about or employers aren't thinking about?
Well, one thing I want to say off the bat, you mentioned AI. AI is only as smart as your prompt. So if you just go in saying, create me an employee handbook for my cleaning company, it's going to be very basic. But if you are, the more specific your prompt is, create me an employee handbook for my cleaning business company that I own in Long Island, New York, and, needs to cover this, this, and this, then you're going to get there. But if you just go in and tell it a basic prompt, it's only going to be as smart as you're telling it to be. So it can be very broad and you can lose some things. One other thing I wanted to touch on that is also required that we were just talking about a minute ago is if you plan on doing any sort of background check, you have to have an e-verify that they agree to a background check. It's, I can't remember the acronym now, but that's federal. So if you're going to run a background check, they have to fill out a form stating that they know you're going to run a background check on them. Also, make sure you cover driving records.
Yes. And there are a few companies out there that you can use that will take care of it for you. Like they'll send the email out or the text message maybe even, and they just click it and they're able to like put in their information and agree to the background check. So there are companies that make it very easy.
Yes, yeah, 100%. But now back to the handbook. So clauses in the handbook, if you're an at-will state, you have to have your at-will statement in there. If you are, you have to have your equal opportunity statement in there so that they know that that's in there. Some sort of anti-harassment policy with how they report that policy. So if, they have to go talk to Holly or they have to go talk to Laura, that's stated in there who they have to talk to. An acknowledgement page. So they need to acknowledge that they have received the handbook so that covers you later. And again, prior to the start date, like they need to have all of this information. A disclaimer that just says this handbook is not a contract of employment. Policies can change at any time at the company's discretion so that they know that it is a fluid document. It's going to change and we're going to do updates and we will give you the updates. And then cleaning business specific ones are customer property policy. What happens if something breaks? What does that look like? How does it get reported? Who covers the cost of it? Key code and lockbox accountability. How do you get your key codes? How do you get your lockboxes? Are you responsible for carrying around keys? What's your policy if you're terminated on getting those keys back? Is there a charge? If they don't return the keys, whatever that looks like. Photo and social media policy, which we already talked about. Side job disclosure. Are you going to allow the people that are working for you to work on the side? Are they allowed to clean jobs on the weekends? Are they allowed to clean jobs at night? Your time clock policy. What time does the day start? What's the tardy policy? What's the absentee policy? Cell phone in clients' homes, vehicle policy, your drug-free workplace policy, if you have one, and then your non-solicit reminder should also be in your handbook.
Wow. It's so much, but it's so good. It's so good. It's like I feel like this stuff is not sexy per se, but neither's a lawsuit. So it's like this
Definitely
this stuff,
not.
you're giving us so much gold right now. You're giving our listeners so much gold that they may not even have thought about. And I know for us, which you said it's fluid, our employee handbook, our terms of service for our clients, it has changed so many times over the years and has been added to.
Correct.
How often would you say that we should be looking into these things and updating our employee handbook?
I feel like a good rule of thumb is to evaluate it annually. Like when you start coming up at the end of the year, because January 1st is always a good time to have, a reset on everything. Hey guys, on January 1st, we've got a new PTO policy coming out, or we've got a new whatever everybody's going to have to sign, or this is going to change or whatever. So I feel like November, December, start really looking at it, make any changes, and then roll it out the beginning of the year is how I would do it.
Okay. And you have to get them to re-sign anytime you make a change, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just out of sheer safety, liability, whatever, so that that none of the employees, one, you want them to understand what the policy is that's changing. So when we just updated our PTO policy, and so at our staff meeting, we went over it basically line by line with them, so they knew what the new PTO policy looked like and what the attendance bonuses were around the holidays and what their new vacation pay policy is after 3 and 6 years. And then they all signed it and turned it in. That way everybody was on the same page. They all knew what was going on, and then they signed it so that we had the acknowledgement that they got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just better. It's better to be safe than sorry. You know what I mean? Like, always make sure that they understand. Always make sure that you have it documented. But did you document it? That's always, that's the saying here.
Yeah, I got a sticker that said that. Did you document it?
Yeah, but is it documented or it didn't happen?
Yep, exactly. Because you have to, and we even document conversations. Like even if we're just having a conversation and it's a coaching conversation and it's not a write-up, it's still written up and they sign off on it that we had that conversation and that they know we talked about it, so that if we do have to do a write-up later on, well, we've already talked about it once. That was kind of your warning, and now here is your write-up for it.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't think to document even just conversations that aren't necessarily write-ups or even like a consequence of something. You know what I mean? Like I think that's really great, honestly.
Yeah.
So so now let's move on through the hiring process. So you've hired your employee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yay, and you send them their little welcome email and you have them sign all the paperwork and all this stuff, and then they show up for their first day of onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to look like? What does that look like at Just Peachy Clean? And what are some things that employers should make sure they're doing on that first day to make sure that they are setting expectations?
So, even before the first day, we make sure we get a copy of if we've offered them the job, there is the presumption that they are going to work for us. It's always contingent on a background check, which is part of the offer letter for us. So we've offered you this job, but it's contingent on a background check, depending on your state. Please check with your state. So we get a copy of their license so that we can run the background check and their driving record and all of that. But when they show up day one, for us, it's now more of, all right, we've passed the onboarding because you've already gotten all of your documents and your paperwork. We have a question answer session if they want to go through that. But now we're starting to train you. They have a video from me that's kind of the founder story about the business, what to expect from the job, how I got into it, so that they kind of get the whole story of the company. And then we go right into their training video. I think we have a few other documents that aren't they're not make or break ones. They're just ones that we like to do, like things that they're interested in so that we know, how to appreciate them and things like that. But the majority of the bulk of the stuff that you should be doing should be done before they will even walk in that door.
So do you put them, this is very cleaning specific, but do they go to do field training on the first day that you bring them in, or do you have them do just video training first and then?
Yeah. So for us, and I'll explain the kind of the whole week if you're interested in that. But for us, they come in, we do, it's officially 6 days of training because day 1 is day 0 for us. So day 0, they come in and they do the rest of the onboarding. That's the video that I just talked about. That's the training video that they do. We get them set up in our CRM. They do some training on our CRM. We get them set up in Discord because that's how we're going to communicate with them. They do a little bit of training with Discord. And then that takes up about for us, that takes till about noonish, 11:30ish, somewhere around there. And then we send them out with their trainer for the rest of the day and they shadow. And part of what they're being graded on is how well they follow instructions. So you are only to shadow. You're not helping out unless to help bring stuff in the house. Obviously, that's fine. But when you're in there, you're paying attention. Are you engaging? Are you asking questions? Are you, paying attention to what's going on? Are you on your phone? Are you, wandering around the house or whatever? We try to pay that shadow is to see how well you follow instructions and to see how you're going to be. And then day 2, we start focusing on the method, the, top to bottom, left to right, working your way around the room to make sure that they understand the methodology through the house to get them in and out of the house as efficiently as possible. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. And then day 3, we switch to bathrooms and we do a bigger focus on the bathrooms. They've been watching it every day, but now we're really getting into bathrooms and we're focusing on the bathrooms. And the second house of the day, they're kind of cleaning a bathroom after we've gone over it the first part of the day. The next day, they go in more into kitchens, more in depth into kitchen. So the second house of the day, they're working in the kitchen and they're going back and forth. And then by the next day, they're cleaning alongside our trainer. And then by day 6, the last day of training, we flip it and the trainer shadows we now call them apprentices, by the way, not trainees, trains the apprentice.
Yeah, I love that.
I saw it somewhere. I stole the idea off of Facebook. I saw somebody else post it. I'm not claiming it's an original idea, but I saw it and I was like, oh, I love that. That sounds so much better than trainee. Because they really are. They're learning a skilled trade. This isn't just something that it's not McDonald's where you're just filling fry orders or something like that. You're becoming an apprentice and you're learning this trade. So on the very last day of training, it flips and the apprentice does all of the cleaning and the trainer shadows them. The apprentice does their final walkthrough, sees if they miss anything, and then the trainer does a final walkthrough with them to go over things that they caught and things like that. So that by day 7, when they go solo, they've already cleaned a house. Even though they've had somebody watching them, they've already cleaned a house before they go out into some of our test houses.
I love that. It's so crystal clear and so laid out. That's so good.
And so on day 7, they have other videos and other training that they do that morning. And then that afternoon is when they go out and go solo.
Okay. And I know you said that they have some other videos. Not necessarily how many, but because continuing education is always so important for them. So does the continuing education stop there, or do you have it set up where they watch more videos throughout probation?
Yeah. So the big videos that they watch on day 7 are the safety training to make sure that they understand all of the safety that goes into being on their own. And then they watch the 3T method, which is how we differentiate between deep cleans, general cleans, and maintenance cleans. And then they go out on their own. After that, we have annual recertification. So they have annual classes that they have to take. So they will go through that safety training every year because you become complacent and you forget things that you were taught and you just get so used to doing what you're doing. Same with the 3T method. We also do training through ISSA, which is the PHC. It's a professional house cleaning certification. So all of them do that annually as well. And then our trainers, we put through the HCT certification, which is the house cleaning technician certification. That really goes way more into the science. It's a 2-day course that has a proctored exam. Like they make you pick up the computer and show them that nobody else is in the room, that you don't have any paperwork around you or anything like that. And you're literally watched as you take the exam. It's like an 120 question exam or something like that. So it is a national certification through ISSA or IICRC.
Very nice. You took that class.
Yeah, I took the class. I didn't do the certification, but
Okay.
I wanted to learn
It's a lot of information.
It is. My head was spinning. By the time I was done, I was like, I thought I was so well educated in this, and I don't know anything.
She hopped off that call on day 2 and was like, that was crazy.
Yeah, my mind got blown.
She was like, that was crazy. Because they really go over certain kinds of floors and different kinds of surfaces and pH levels and this and that and this.
Yep. Microbiomes and bloodborne pathogens and
yeah,
all of that stuff, which that's why we put our trainers through it, because our trainers work with everybody, right?
Mhm.
So I want them to know that kind of stuff so that they bring it in and they teach and they pass it down, because it's not a cheap course. So it's not, you don't necessarily need to put everybody through it, but the people who are training the people coming in, you want to make sure that they do know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart.
And it's also a cool bragging right to say that they have this like certificate, like, you have trainers who are certified in this. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So I love that. I want to step into like a little shameless plug here, because you had mentioned some of your videos that you do, including safety and the 3T method. And we should have mentioned, well, we'll mention it in our intro, but Jen created a freebie for our listeners.
Ooh, how generous.
Yes. So they're going to learn a little bit more. She created a very robust hiring guide that's just going to kind of help them prepare to hire and make sure they're doing everything correctly, and things just keep an eye out for. But the beautiful thing is that, I mean, we can tell them, oh, you get this hiring guide and you get, this paperwork and this and that and this. But a lot of people probably are thinking, I don't have time to create all of these trainings and these videos. What am I going to do? And so the beautiful thing is that Jen's videos are for the public. And so anybody can purchase these trainings, and they're very detailed, and can, present them to their staff. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the videos that you offer?
Sure. So technician facing, I have 2 that I'm offering right now. We have the safety training, which is 12 modules, all about safety. So it goes into PPE, it goes into stop work and when are they allowed to stop work. It goes into dangerous situations. It goes into like if somebody squishes their hand and gets stabbed by a needle. It goes into breakages, goes into all of that stuff. It's all stuff that we're like, oh, we should talk about that. Or we probably have written down somewhere that nobody is ever going to read. So they're put together in like 3 to 5 minute little modules where they learn about something. They do a quick 10-question quiz. They learn about something else. If you do it start to finish, I think it's like an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour. But at the end, they get a certificate that they completed safety training, which is also good for your insurance as well. Making sure that you show them that you are doing continuing safety training with your people. It is a one-time purchase. Like anytime you purchase any of my trainings, that you pay for it once and it's yours forever.
It's amazing. It's very rare these days.
I don't believe in the subscription model. And I know that's probably a terrible business model. But I don't want people to stay with me just because they don't want to lose a video. So you purchase it, it's yours. And the other side of it is if I decide to update it or upgrade it later on and you've already purchased it, you get all of the updates and upgrades completely for free. So that's the safety training one. And then the other one that I've created, I have a long list of ones that I want to continue to create, it's the 3T method. And it's something we've used at my cleaning company, Just Peachy Clean, for several years now. And it goes into the difference between a deep clean, a general clean, and a maintenance clean. And the 3Ts are the time, the tools, and the techniques. So every single clean that we do, we are touching the same parts of the house every single time. What changes are the time, the tools, and the techniques that we use. So a deep clean is going to take 2.5 to 3 times as long as a maintenance clean does because there's so much extra buildup. A general clean is going to be 1.5 to 2 times. And then the tools that you use are going to be different. When I'm on a weekly or biweekly clean, I don't need a pumice stone. I don't need a magic eraser. There shouldn't be that much buildup there. But on that deep clean, I may need razor blades. I may need a pumice stone. The tools are going to be different. And then the techniques that we use to clean, I'm not going to have to bring in probably hard water remover for the glass on a weekly clean because there's not enough time for it to build up. But I'm going to need to use those types of techniques on a home that's been sitting for a while or hasn't had a clean. So it really goes into the difference in the types of cleans. And then there's a little bonus module, 2 bonus modules, one for the technicians and one for the owners in the office. And the one for the technicians is going into the difference between the recurring services that we do. So again, we're touching everything, but a weekly and biweekly clean is completely different from a monthly clean. We're touching all of the same things, but that monthly clean is almost like a refresh every single time you go versus weekly and biweekly. It's just maintenance. So that monthly clean requires a little bit different. So we talk about the difference in that. And then for the owner and office side of it, we talk about the recurring and how to set the expectations with the client when you're talking to them. And when they're, saying, oh, I really only want a monthly clean because of a budget issue and that's all I can afford. But I've got, 2 German Shepherds and I've got a cat who uses the litter box and I've got 2 kids. That monthly clean is probably not going to meet your expectations. And we need to present that correctly to them and say, you know what, based on the conditions that you're describing to me, that's really a biweekly clean, or we're going to need to utilize more time on that monthly clean to make sure that we're able to get it to the standard that you want.
For sure. Yeah, we struggle with that. They're like, I want monthly. We're like, okay.
Whatever you want. We have so many monthly clients.
This is good for anybody to listen to, honestly, because especially for the solo cleaners who are just starting out, I feel like, and we did this in the beginning too. And like sometimes when I look, because we have our estimates from like 2017, like when we first started, and we were charging the same price for the initial deep clean as we did for the monthly clean. Yeah. And that was still only like $20 more than the bi-weekly clean, which was still like only like $100 or $80, really, really low amounts. And I think a lot of even solo cleaners don't realize that the price that you're charging has to be reflected in the amount of time you are spending at the house. And the difference between biweekly and monthly, believe it or not, is a huge difference, especially in houses with lots of kids, lots of pets, even just lots of humans living in the house. We always ask them even now, how many people live in your house? Because the more people that live in there, the more soap scum's building up in your shower, things like that.
Or even work from home. Because you're in the house all day. If you have people who don't work from home, there's not as much buildup because they're not in there all day. But if you're working from home, you've got people who are in the house all day, every day versus only at night and on the weekends. And that's the other thing that's included in the 3T training is I have some owner resources that kind of give you the industry standard for if you have a weekly price and it's this, that biweekly is going to be 15 to 20% higher because it's going to take 15 to 20% more time to do it. So that's how you should charge for that. But that monthly clean is going to be 50 to 75% higher than that weekly clean. So it kind of helps you figure out the pricing for those to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we did get a little sneak peek at the 3T videos, and they're very comprehensive, very easy to understand, and just very, very helpful because I feel like you do a very good job of explaining things in a way that is very crystal clear, but also makes you kind of think differently. I'm like, I've never thought to explain it to the client like that.
Yeah.
It's really, really comprehensive.
Thanks. So, well, that's the goal. And like I said, I'm doing it because I feel like there is a hole in the industry for especially technician type training. A lot of cleaning companies don't even have any kind of training whatsoever. They just, shadow me for 2 days and then, all right, you're on your own. And if there are no guidelines, then there are no guidelines. There's no accountability. You can send them out on their own and then you can't get mad at them for not cleaning something correctly if you never trained them how to clean it correctly in the first place.
Yeah. Right. We used to have people. Back in the day, watch me do this bathroom one time. Okay, bye. Have fun.
Good
Go
luck.
do yourself.
We're all guilty of that. We are, because you don't know any different in the beginning.
Yeah.
No.
And that's kind of my goal too, is to change people's thinking. Because if we're truly going to up level this industry and have people look at it as a genuine skilled trade, then we have to treat it like that. You can't, if you're bringing in somebody for $60 from somebody you found on Facebook into somebody's house to clean, you can't expect the person that you're cleaning to take you seriously.
Right.
You need to start acting like a professional. We all need to start acting like professionals and bring up the industry.
I agree.
Yeah.
Who would you say overall, because we have people listening right now that I'm sure are at completely different levels. Who would you say your courses and your coaching program specifically, who are they for? Like, are they for everyone? Are they for somebody just starting out, or can they be for $1 million business owner?
I really think that they can be for anybody, because I feel like what I'm doing, and this is not at all to toot my own horn.
Please
don't like I don't like building myself up. But like you just said, the fact of the matter is that people don't have time to do this. Mm-hmm. So I'm at a point now where I just got so fed up with there not being something to solve my problem that I just started creating it, and I'm creating it in a way that it's generic enough that you should be able to use it across the board. There might be some things you have to tweak, but it can be used across the board. So if you think about the amount of time, energy, effort, and money it would take you to recreate the things that I have created, the price for the 3T method is $247 out the door. You can use it 1,000,000 times if you want to. You can use it 3 times. It's yours forever. You don't ever have to pay for it again. That's worth the price of admission to me, to not have to record a video, to come up with the script, to come up with the downloadables that are included with it. The safety training is 12 modules. I think that one's at $397. But again, it automatically resets after everybody uses it. So the next person just comes in and uses it again. You don't have to reset anything. They get a certificate. So if you break down how much time, energy, and effort and actual money it would take you to build something like this versus just buying something that's already completed and tweaking a couple things, to me, it's a no-brainer. So whether you are, a solo just starting to do that first hire, or you're somebody who has, 15, 20 plus employees and you just need some training to keep them going, I feel like it is a good fit for anybody.
Awesome. Yeah, I would agree. Based on everything you said, you can use this whether you're just starting off. And it's better too. I don't want anybody listening to think, well, I don't have any employees yet. I don't need this. Because I'm telling you, if I knew what I knew now when we first started off, we would have been so much better.
I would be rich and famous now.
Literally. Rich magazines. We would
10 million, crazy.
We knew so little that, just going back really quick on what you said, not only did we charge the same for initial cleanings as monthlies, I remember one time I was looking at an old estimate and we discounted the initial cleaning. We said, you know what? Because it's your first time, we're going to give you $20 off. Stupid.
Oh,
Stupid.
Just because?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes, because we knew that. It was a friend of a friend. We're going to discount your initial cleaning. Stupid.
Ridiculous.
So don't think just because you're starting off and you're small, this is the time. Get in with this information on the ground level so that you can scale the right way.
Because you know how much harder it is to go backwards if you're at $1 million and fix things than if you just start doing it the right way the first time. It's a completely different model.
Yep. And it's easier. It's literally easier because
And
now
cheaper.
we're at this size where we're trying to go back and fix some things that we needed to fix. And it's just harder when you have things in place that are incorrect, because now not only are you just developing, but you're changing, and you have to develop things at a more rapid rate than if you were doing them with 1 employee or 0 employees. You can kind of take your time and make sure everything is really ironclad and perfect.
It is the difference between being proactive and reactive.
Yeah.
Right now, you live in reactive mode. And a lot of us do. I mean, there are still things that we are living in reactive mode that we're still, trying to fix. But it is so much better to be in proactive mode and have things just taken care of and set and have repeatable processes so that there are no questions. You don't have somebody that says, oh, well, I was never taught that. Oh, no, you watched it. You got your certificate. You got, you signed for the handbook. It's not my fault you didn't read it, or whatever. But having these things that are repeatable processes now versus, okay, imagine you get to 750,000 and you've got 9 employees. And now you're going, oh, you know what? I don't really have a good attendance policy. Now I need to instill an attendance policy. So now those 9 employees that have been willy-nilly for however long they have been with you, now you've got to reel it back in and go, guess what, guys? I got to do an attendance policy. And now you only get so many unplanned absences a year. And I'm really going to have to be firm on it because I haven't been for the last 5 years. And you just got to get used to it. That's a much different conversation than somebody coming in and you go, here's our attendance policy,
That's likely going to result in massive amounts of churn too. Just people not agreeing or not loving it. You weren't strict and now you are. I mean, we dealt with that too when we started we started really making our changes. Some people just couldn't adapt,
Mm-hmm.
They what's that book with the frog? No.
Oh,
not the no. Where's my cheese? Dude, where's my cheese or something?
Yeah, my cheese. Yes.
I said, dude, where's my cheese?
My car.
Are you talking about frogs? Where's my car? We've even talked about cheese.
She combined dude, where's my car? Eat the frog and who moved my cheese?
One of those. It's one
I'll
of
be
them.
okay.
It's true. We've had that even recently, I will say, because our old employees, when we made a bunch of changes to our business model, they did not like it and some of them left, which I can understand. But even something as little as getting more strict with your policies, we've dealt with issues recently because our new employees, they respect our policies and take them very seriously. But our old employees who didn't have to follow the rules when we first started off, once we started getting strict, they did not like
Yes,
it. And it caused major issues.
Like when we wrote up a former employee for not attending meetings.
Yes.
We used to always say they were mandatory, but it was never like strictly enforced, you know? And so when we slapped her with the write-up, she argued it.
Yeah, she said, I don't think that this is fair.
And-
But it's not even her fault. Why would she? If I let her
Right.
skip meetings in the past, why all of a sudden am I enforcing it? So I do understand, although I think she was wrong, I understand where she was coming from.
No, she was wrong.
She was wrong, but she,
But do you find that the ones that you started enforcing the rules on are the ones that were breaking the rules all the time, that you just kind of let get away with murder, and so they weren't happy with being held accountable finally?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And having those rules in place right from the get-go does weed out the people who are not a good fit or who don't align with your, because your rules should also be reflected in your core values too, like your policies. Like reliability is a key core value of ours. So having a strict attendance policy is important for that. It's important because that's, you know what I'm saying? So even like in terms of like our damage policy, they have to tell us right away, even if the client doesn't care, even if they don't tell the client, even if they can like put it back together somehow, we still need to know. And that goes with honesty, which is another core value of ours. So all of these things have to go together, and having those policies in place are going to help you weed out the people who aren't aligning with your core values and therefore aren't a good fit for your company. And when you keep somebody on for a long time who does not align or who is not a good fit, it can cost you a lot of money, emotional stress, like all of those things down the line if you let it go too long.
I'm a big proponent. Every coaching session we do, every write-up we do ties back to our core values and what core value was violated by whatever we're talking about.
Yeah. That's big. Honestly, we need to do that more. I mean, we harp on them for sure, but tying it back to like why the write-ups are a big deal, that's so smart.
Yeah,
I love that.
You should be able to hire and fire based on your core values. And that goes for technicians and clients. If you have clients that don't fit your core values, then you should be able to let them go and not feel bad.
Yep.
Because not everybody is a good fit. Not everybody is my ideal client. Not everybody is your ideal client. And our ideal clients may not even be the same type of ideal client. So there is plenty of business out there for all of us, for every single one of us, if we're doing it right. We don't need to have the scarcity mindset. You know, I have there's like 3 or 4 local cleaning companies here that we just had a meetup at my office not that long ago. And we talk about up-leveling the industry, and we talk about, you know, how we do things and share how we do things. Because if we're all doing it similarly or the same way, then when somebody calls my office for a quote and then they call their office for a quote and they realize, oh my gosh, okay, that's not an absurd price. That is actually a great price. It just makes all of us look better. But if you've got, you know, like Libby DeLucian says, Betty with a bucket down the street who's charging $15 to $20 an hour, that's not even comparable. You know what happens when she comes in and ruins your granite countertop or your natural stone, or, you know, scratches your stainless steel or does something. Chances are she doesn't have insurance, or, you know, what we've had recently, there was I just saw an article where a gentleman was arrested because he was going in and cleaning people's houses and stealing from him while he was in there. Like, you don't know who you're bringing in. You want to find a professional company who has vetted cleaners and who you can trust, that even if something, God forbid, does happen, you're going to be protected. Because this is your most private of spaces. It's wild to me how people will be like, oh, I have to tell the story. We literally got an email from a woman after we sent her her quote, and her reply was, I can go find some homeless person living in their car that I could pay $15 an hour to clean my house, and it will be just fine.
You do that, ma'am. Have fun.
The disrespect.
We've gotten before. Cleaning is not rocket science. I can't believe you charge that much. That is so disrespectful. Cleaning is an art and a skill.
It's low-key a science too.
There is a lot of science that goes into it, knowing which chemicals react with certain surfaces. Like when you did the HCT course, most people and don't even get Nicole started on this because she had a whole rant in one of our cleaning business groups about Dawn dish detergent and being used on granite. Dawn is a chelating agent, and it will gradually remove the seal on your granite countertop. That's why if you have a granite countertop and you always have your Dawn up by the sink and you see underneath that it's changed colors and it's turned white or brown or darker or whatever, it's because it's slowly eating away. Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but if your person is constantly using that over and over and over again, every time they clean, they're gradually cleaning away. But if they're not taught that, if they didn't know, if they didn't go through these courses, then they'll just continue to use it. And then,
and other things, like we had an issue. This was before we were training properly, which is why we harp on it so hard now. But we had somebody completely strip a marble floor using, it was actually the customer's product. So now we have a policy in place that we're not held for we're not liable for damages using their products. But either way,
we make them sign a waiver. If we're using their product, you have to sign a waiver, you have to provide an SDS sheet, and you have to train our cleaners how to use it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
We usually supply the SDS sheets, but I don't even think we probably have all of them because we don't even know. It's really difficult though. But regardless, these are things that a homeless person in their car is not going to know not to use, this abrasive product.
Not to mention a homeless person in your car literally is going to come in and take whatever they want from your house. They have no loyalty to you whatsoever.
It's crazy. That's a crazy response
thing to say.
And that's why on the we always we literally harped on this last week too about the clients looking out for those red flags. Does this person only take cash? Do they not have insurance? These are all the things you need to be asking and vetting when you are hiring a cleaning company. And on the other side of it, speaking to, especially because our audience is primarily the solo cleaner or the small business owner, this is why you have to make sure all of these things are in place. Even before you are hiring, you have to make sure you are insured, you are compliant, you are collecting taxes, paying taxes, all of these things, because it is what's going to up-level this entire industry. And so, and it is going to mean that you are no longer the cheapest option. But
here's also the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is if you're a solo cleaner and you are cleaning somebody's house and they pay you more than $2,600 a year, you are an employee of that person and they are responsible for the nanny tax. Because you are not a professional company. You fall under a household employee, and technically they should be responsible for your nanny tax.
That's crazy. Is that a federal thing or a Florida thing?
Oh, federal. No, I did not know that.
Oh,
interesting.
I'm gonna need to just start
spilling all that tea.
I need to start just reporting everybody in the limit. You know what I mean? That person's a nanny tax. You got to pay nanny tax. You know what I mean?
So in my opinion, the thing is none of this is going to break the bank.
No.
None of it is life altering. Go get your LLC, go get your insurance. Insurance is not as expensive as you think it is, but then price accordingly and understand that you are valuable at that price. That is, I think that so many solo cleaners, guilty as charged, because I was the same way in the beginning, charging $20 an hour. I'd spend 3 hours in a house and make $60. And I was like, woo, look at me. I'm rolling in the dough.
Right?
Charging pennies back then. But I didn't know any better. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how these people charge this amount. A lot of it is just the confidence. It's in how you say it. Our price is our price.
Yeah.
Yep. You don't do that with a plumber. You don't do that with an electrician. You don't do that with anybody else. And if you don't like our price, I'm not for everybody. And I don't say that to be nasty. I say that to mean not everybody can afford a Lamborghini. I'm not going to get mad because Lamborghini won't lower their price so that I can buy one.
Oh, that's such a good point.
I love it.
Such a good
That got to be a magic clip.
I know, right?
No, it's true though. And I mean, I preach this all the time, and I've even said it to leads on the phone, but it's about what you value. Mm-hmm. Do you value just having someone come in and you pay the lowest price and they don't really do the best job and they call you every time they're supposed to come and tell you they can't come, they got to go, they're sick, or they forget to show up or whatever. I mean, I hear it all the time. And so what do you value? Do you value that, or do you value having a company backed by insurance and bonding and they're protected and they hire people with integrity and they're always going to show up when they say they are? And heaven forbid they dust your chandelier and it falls to the floor and your Waterford crystals break all over the place. Guess what? It doesn't fall on you to replace that because it was an accident and we're insured. So, what do you value? Do you value being proactive, right? And hiring a company that is maybe, hopefully, there will be no damages of that kind. There's going to be no accidents because we are professionally trained. We are professionally training our technicians. We are doing all of those things to make sure that those things don't happen. But heaven forbid that something does, there is protection. That is being proactive as the client.
Yep.
And so, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer.
People think it'll never happen to them. That's the problem.
Yeah, they think they're invincible.
It will never happen to them until it does. And some people, they do value the lowest price.
Mhm.
One of the questions I ask all of my leads on the phone is, what is most important to you when it comes to hiring a cleaning company? And most people say reliability and trust. That is the number one answer I get. Some people will say the lowest price. So that I know right then and there we have lost some. I'm going to continue. I'm not going to give up, but we're really not going to win this one. And that's
actually
fine.
You did win one recently though, who said price was the most important thing, because even that, when people say I'm looking for affordable, what does that mean?
Right.
It means something different to everybody.
Right. My
You know what I
affordable
mean?
and your affordable might not be the same thing. But I would also challenge on the flip side of that, when we've had people call us up and say, oh my gosh, I only paid our last person $80. Oh, that's an amazing price. Why aren't you using her anymore? Well, she stopped showing up, or she was late all the time, or, she would reschedule me or whatever. Here's the thing that a lot of homeowners don't want to admit is that person probably found somebody who is paying them more. And they have slowly been quiet quitting you, just like, big employers, because they don't want to ask you to raise their price, because they're more afraid of asking to raise your price than to just go get a client who is paying better. So that person probably stopped showing up because they have been resentful of you for however many weeks or months that they have been cleaning for you, because they're busting their butt cleaning your house and they're making pennies. When you take out taxes and supplies and drive time and fuel and all of the things, they're making pennies cleaning for you. They would rather go find a client that pays more than to risk upsetting you by saying, oh, I need to charge you $20 more per visit. And then they stop being reliable for you. It's probably not that they're not reliable. It's probably because they're afraid to confront you about the price and they found somebody who would pay more.
That's a very good point.
That is a very good point.
We've quiet quit in the past, like when it was just us cleaning. I can think of a few people. I was always sick. I was always sick.
Oh my gosh.
Every Friday night, I was always sick. Remember that?
Well, that's because I tried to leave, and when I said we can't service you anymore, she said, "But I really like you."
And we raised her price too, but
okay, it's gonna have to be this price. And she was like, "That's ridiculous." And I was like, "It's gonna have to be the price." And she said, "Okay."
And then she said, "Okay," but then we quiet quit anyway, because it was just it was still way too much for the price that we even charged it after we raised it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. There are so many houses that I look back on and I go, oh my gosh, that's all I charged for that house.
It's crazy. I understand. We're in the same boat. I understand. But that's why I love having, podcasts and technology and education. All this stuff is so good, because I didn't have any of this when I first started when we first started cleaning in 2017. This didn't happen. This didn't exist. We didn't have, we had said, AI even, but I think that also AI, like you said, it's not going to be as...
It's only as good as your
prompt. It's not the only thing you need. Right. Yeah. And even with those prompts, you just need someone who's been through it. AI has not been through it. AI is not a person.
So you need to keep you accountable. Like somebody to say, all right, you just went through this horrible staffing issue. What have you done?
Yeah.
What documents have you updated? What are you implementing? How are you going to make sure this doesn't happen again? AI will tell you whatever you want it to say, but it's not going to be there constantly rallying for you and pushing you and, all of that.
Yeah. It's not going to be Nicole in your DMs saying, have you upped your marketing? Have you upped your marketing? Nicole's going to be so mad when she realizes you have come back a second time and we still have not had Nicole on the podcast.
Yeah, but it's her fault, because she can't even make time for our business shenanigans.
I can't even get her on our own podcast. So don't feel bad.
But she's gonna be mad.
Honestly, you're just gonna have to be a solo host, and she's gonna have to go just do her marketing on her own, and that's that.
I told her, I was like, I'm gonna start my own podcast.
That's it.
We need to have her on to bully our listeners into marketing.
100%. She would be great. Yeah. She would be great to talk about marketing and to talk about hiring. She's nailed both of those down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. She's so good.
We have to message her.
Yes, we will.
We're going to message her as soon as we we end here and say we were talking shit about you on Hustled Up?
I know that she's going to actually listen to the episode. She's going to have to wait all the way to the end.
This was really,
get halfway
really
through
good.
and be like, they weren't saying anything about me. I'm done.
No, I'm going to be like listening to it until the 45th minute or however long it's been. But this was really, really helpful. This was a really, really good conversation. Can you quickly, before we wrap up, can you just tell everybody about this freebie? I mean, I looked a little bit at it, but just so that you can entice them to go ahead and grab it.
Sure. It's completely free. It is My Profit Pathways. It's the hiring paperwork and protection, a coaching guide for cleaning business owners. For about operators with about 4 to 30. But honestly, if you're thinking about hiring at all, make sure that you get it because it's free. It's like 23 pages. It's a lot of information. Or I think that's about what it ended up being. But it's a ton of information. It goes through hiring red flags. It goes through the questions to ask in the interview. It goes through the paperwork that you need to have, what your handbook needs to have in it. So basically, like all the things that we just talked about in here, it talks about so that you can be better prepared for when you bring on those employees. And it's totally free. It's just a PDF. It's actually a Google Doc, so you can make a copy of it and change it to suit your needs. But it just kind of goes into all of that so that it takes some of the guesswork out for you. It also talks about questions you can't legally ask in an interview, like age, date of birth, how long until retirement, religious or religion, marital status, or anything like that. Those are all protected things that you can't ask. So it goes into all that kind of stuff. So there's a ton of information in there, totally free. I've shared a link with you guys, so I'm sure you can share it in the bio and on your socials and stuff like that. But you fill out a quick form and then it'll automatically email you the document.
Amazing. I love it. I'm going to sign up for it myself.
Yeah, no, that's so
doesn't hurt to have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And honestly, I think everybody should just have it. Like just sign up for it now. Even if you are still solo, just go and grab it because it is not too early to start thinking about these things if you plan to hire. So I definitely think that will be great. We will include the link in our show notes in the description below. So yeah, don't hesitate. In fact, just pause right now. Go do it.
Right. Yep. Immediately.
Okay, we're back. But this was really, really good, Jen. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I would say we'll see you next time, but we'll actually see you in 15 minutes for our coaching call. So
we're talking all about finances today.
I'm so excited for that.
It's
going to be great. It's going to be really good. So thank you again for coming on the show. And it was honestly a pleasure, as it always is. And for all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Jen. Make sure you go collect that guide, and we will see you next week.